What's up, my fellow book nerds? Today, we are here with a bit of a different video. I did this last year. I did it in a different format. I didn't use this. It took way longer last year because I had to run through my entire shelf, find every book I read the entire year, show it to you while I did it, and then I would do my little review, blah, blah, blah. So today I thought I would do it like this. I'd do it a bit different, but I did it last year and it was fun, so I figured I'd do it again this year. This year I didn't read as much as I did last year, but I would say it's because I read more comics and manga last year than I did this year, which I think accounts for the discrepancy, or I could just have done a bit less reading, who knows, but it was still a good year. Read a lot of great stuff, enjoyed myself, so I figured let's go into this, you know what I mean? So, starting off with Vagabond, the Viz Big Edition, Volume 2. I mean, this goes into Holy Lord immediately. Immediately Holy Lord. That shouldn't even be a question. If you've read Vagabond, you know. If you haven't, read it. In my opinion, like, Vagabond is a life-changing story. Not just for manga, for any book, any comic, anything you read, anything you experience. For me, it's life-changing. It is so beautiful. Its writing, its artwork, its characters, everything about it is so incredibly beautiful. But like the overarching theme of Vagabond, the spirituality of Vagabond, everything about the series is unreal, genuinely speaking. So if you've never seen if you've never read it, I would highly recommend reading it. It is beautiful. It is amazing. You can read it online if you don't want to buy the physical copies. I own all the physical copies because it's amazing and I love it. But again, if you don't want to, that's fine, but that's where I'd put that. It's amazing. I love it. Next up, we have Hollywood Science. I'm putting this in the alright category. I had to read this for one of my classes. It's kind of cool. It's kind of nice. It basically goes through different shows, movies, and such of like different things like Hollywood. So different shows, different TV shows, different movies, and it uses the science that you see in it and then explains it. So like one of the things was on like CSI, I believe, if I remember correctly, and it was like that whole technology that could create an entire face or something or other, I forget, or could create like a genetic compound, and it basically explained in real scientific terms how that could be possible, or if it's possible, or what goes on behind it. It's a cool book, it's alright, but if I didn't have to read it for class, I would never have read it at all, if I'm being honest. Next up, we got The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. This one goes in enjoyable. It's good. In terms of Sherlock Holmes as a character and all the stories, it would be in the Holy Lord category. Sherlock Holmes is one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. I love his stories. I love everything surrounding Sherlock Holmes, both the original stories written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the extra stories written by other authors who have decided to take on the source material, like James Lovegrove or Bonnie McBird, the video games, the TV shows with Benedict Cumberbatch, the movies with RDJ, everything about them. I love Sherlock Holmes. But this is like the beginning of the Sherlock Holmes stories, and it starts off okay. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but I would say it's very enjoyable. So that's where it goes. Whatever, man. Next up is Tuesdays with Morrie. This was a recommendation by my sister. She really enjoyed it. She loved it, and so she told me to try it, and so I read it, and it's just going in enjoyable. It was okay. I think personally for me, I mean, it depends on who you are and what you read, if we're being honest. If you're someone who doesn't read, because I was a philosophy major in university, and that's kind of my bread and butter, and I love reading about philosophical texts. I have a bunch of them. I've read a bunch of them. I studied it. So for me, I think this is like, it's more contemporary than it is philosophical, but nevertheless, it's like, I don't know, it's like beginning to get deep per se, but a very surface level version of it. But like, it's cute, it's nice, but I don't think it was like holy grail amazing. I think it was aight. So I'm not putting it in the aight category because I did enjoy it, but take it or leave it. Next up is The Witcher, The Last Wish. This one I actually did really enjoy. I did really enjoy The Last Wish. In terms of the whole series, like The Witcher games, the show, and the books. The entire books as a whole, I'd probably put as amazing. Like the whole series, and including the games and everything like that. But individual books, I think it kind of it's a bit up and down in terms of how good they are. I think the character of Geralt is amazing. I think the world building of The Witcher is amazing. I don't know if every book is amazing, but the first one started off strong. That was The Last Wish. I really enjoyed that one, so I would give that one amazing. Next up, I have The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, I also had to read that for class. I mean, I like Edgar Allan Poe. The Fall of the House of Usher was really bleh to me. Like, in terms of studying the technicalities of his writing, like his prose and the use of gothic horror and like the use of the house and the imagery between the twins and stuff like that, like, sure, it's great on the technical level. But in terms of a story and would I recommend you read it, bleh, you know what I mean? Like, oh, whatever. So that's all I gotta say on that. Next is The Art of Harmony by Tao Ting Cheng. This is like a East Asian philosophy book. I thought it was quite great, actually, but like I would say it's up and down. I would actually put it in front of Tuesdays with Morrie. I'd probably put it in front of Adventures of Sherlock Holmes as well, to be honest. I would say it's like there's a lot of it in it that is genuinely amazing and thought-provoking and beautiful, but also there's a lot of it that felt like it was saying the same thing over and over again in different ways, basically the exact same sentiment, but just synonymously saying it over and over and over again. So like that's cool and all, but it could have been done better, I guess. But like it is beautiful. It's a fantastic book, and there's a lot of stuff in it that is genuinely profound, but then there's a lot of it in it that I kind of read it and I'm like, okay, I guess, or like, okay, you've said this 17 times now, I didn't need an 18th time, but to each their own. Next we have The Virgin Suicides. That is going in the bro what category. This made me leave my first review on Goodreads. I've never left a review before. This was my first one. It made me leave a review. Trash. I had to read it for class. I would have never read it otherwise. I didn't even know there was a movie, and the movie is evidently like a cult classic or something. People love it. Whatever. I don't know about all that. Whatever. But for me, it was... It's a no from me, bro. Next, we have The Watchmen by Alan Moore. I mean, come on. It's iconic. It's amazing. For me, it's not Holy Lord, but it is. I would put it in front of The Witcher. It is amazing. You know, that's like, I think this is like my 4th time reading The Watchmen. You can't go wrong with The Watchmen. It is a phenomenal comic book, graphic novel, whatever you want to call it. And it spurred on, in terms of like, I don't know, it's messaging and it's writing with Alan Moore. It is amazing. It does transcend the idea of a comic book. It goes a bit further with its writing. So in terms of like, if it was someone who's never read comic books and they want to read comic books, I might recommend Watchmen by Alan Moore, for being honest. That's a great one. Next up, we got the Daredevil Omnibus by Frank Miller. I have actually got, you know what? Let me show it to you instead. Hold on. Yeah, so here's the actual omnibus, but I have to show it to you because, I mean, you'll see. I actually got it. Hold on. Let's be gentle here. I got it signed by Frank Miller himself. That's what that is down there in the gold. If you buy an omnibus of Frank Miller's Daredevil, it does not come signed. I got that signed at the Toronto Comic Con when I went in 2023. Got him to sign my book. Also got him to sign my Dark Knight Returns comic book. But yeah, this one is definitely, I mean, that goes in the amazing category. Do we even have to explain that? It goes in the amazing category, and I'm putting it in first place in front of The Watchmen. Shouldn't have to explain that, honestly. If you've read the Daredevil omnibus run by Frank Miller, you know what it's about. You know how amazing it is. It revolutionized Daredevil, if we're being honest. If you're looking for a great comic run, I'd go with Daredevil. It's pretty good. But to be honest, it's not my favorite Daredevil run. It's not the greatest one I've read either. Personally, for me, I think Brian Michael Bendis' run is better than the Frank Miller run. But the Frank Miller run is iconic, and everybody loves it, and I definitely enjoyed it. It's fantastic, great artwork, great story. Can't ask for much more. Next up, we got Daredevil and Elektra by Chip Zdarsky. Chip Zdarsky, man. I mean, I'm going to put this in amazing as well. Chip Zdarsky is so beautiful. All right, that's what he is. He's beautiful. The artwork for his books are amazing. His entire Daredevil run is beautiful. His Daredevil Elektra stuff, beautiful. His Batman stuff, beautiful. Everything he writes is amazing. Read it. It's beautiful. Berserk Deluxe Edition, Volume 12. Same sentiment of Vagabond. Berserk is another one of my all-time favorite series of anything ever. Not just in manga, not just in comics, not just in games, not just in books, but anything ever. Any media consumption, whether it be books, manga, comics, video games, movies, TV shows, anything. Don't care. It's one of them. It's like top 3. It's top 1 pretty much, but you know, I leave leeway depending how I'm feeling that day. But yeah, the Berserk, I mean, I imagine you've heard of Berserk. If you haven't, you're living under a rock. And if you haven't, go read Berserk. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Some of the greatest world building, some of the greatest artwork, some of the greatest character work, some of the greatest characters. I I ain't saying anything else. Go read it. Next up, we have Vagabond, Viz Big Edition, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, and Volume 6, and Volume 7, and Volume 8, and Volume 9, and Volume 10, and Volume 11, and Volume 12. I mean, they're all there because I read them in succession. So I'm going to quickly move them all up here because, dude, it's literally verbatim what I said for the Volume 2. All of Vagabond is just the greatest thing you've ever experienced in your life, okay? Just flat out the greatest thing you've ever experienced in your life. I don't need to say more about it because that's what it is. It is so beautifully written. The artwork is amazing. Everything is amazing. Read it. Next up, we have Egghead by Bo Burnham. Bo Burnham is my, like, hands down, top 3 comedians or just artistic people out there for me. I've been a fan of him since I was like 11. I've read this before. I decided to reread it again. I'd put it in enjoyable. It's good. I would read it over Tuesdays with Maury. It's good. It's enjoyable. I like it. It's fun. There's some of the poems. It's a poem book. It's a poetry book by Bo Burnham. Some of them are really funny. Others kind of fall flat. And there are some that are genuinely profound, you know, and that is who Bo Burnham is. That's like the perfect summarization of what he is. He is genuinely a genius. So it doesn't surprise me that his book has some incredibly profound things in it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend you read that. It's a pretty great one. Next up, we got the official guidebook for Berserk. I'd put this in This is not something that you need. I love Berserk, so I bought it. I wanted to see what it was about. I read it. It's cool-ish. Not that useful. Not that great to read. Just has like background information about the story, about the characters, about the world. It's like, you know, if you ever forget something and you're like, what happened or what's this character, blah, 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 you open this book up. But besides that, it's really not that useful, so boy. We have the One Punch Man's volume 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. If you've read One Punch Man, you're going to understand what I'm about to do. If you haven't, this might seem confusing to you. But listen, all of it. The entirety of One Punch Man is some of the greatest stuff I've ever read. Some of the greatest I've ever read. And that might seem weird to you if you've seen the anime, because you're like, he's a gag character, you know, it's just, he's really strong, he always saves the day. I'm going to be honest with you, if that's your opinion on One Punch Man, I'm going to say this flat out, your media literacy is down the toilet, okay? One has written, like, genuinely speaking, it might be some of the most genius writing I've ever read in my life, because it is simultaneously a gag and being incredibly real and authentic. It's simultaneously making fun of manga while being the thing it's making fun of, but doing it in such a way that it's so beautifully written, it's unreal. I think the story is flat out fantastic. I think the character is flat out fantastic. And if you've ever watched the videos of people talking about One Punch Man, looking at the theories, analyzing the world, if you see the stuff and the way this story has progressed, if you've read up to all of the chapters, which I have, if you've read everything about this series, I think you'll understand why I put it up there. For me, it's like, that's literally up there in the Holy Lord is my top 3 manga up there. Is Berserk, Vagabond, and One Punch Man. Like, that's literally it right there. So, just FYI. I would recommend you read One Punch Man, man. Again, all of these you can find online. If you don't want to buy them or pay for them, you can find these online. So, read them. I think it's genuinely some of the greatest stuff you'll ever read. It's phenomenal. And the artwork in all 3 of these is unreal too. So yeah, those go there. Highly recommend. November Road. This is a weird one. I'm putting this in enjoyable. It's weird. I had to read this one for class as well, and I didn't think I would enjoy it. I ended up enjoying it quite a bit. It actually wasn't that bad. It's kind of like a detective-ish adventure story, kinda. And it's tense, but it's like surrounding the JFK assassination at the time. But I actually quite enjoyed it. It was a lot better than I thought it would be, so I'd recommend. It's okay. Next up, I got Winnie the Pooh. Listen, don't ask me why I read this. I felt like I wanted to. I wanted to see what it was all about, so I read it. And it's ass. If we're being honest, it's ass. Winnie the Pooh might be iconic, but the story is a load of cheeks. So I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Don't hate the player, alright? But I would put it above all of these, to be honest. It's blah, but it's better than these ones. I'd rather read Winnie the Pooh over those. So whatever. Next one, we have Earth 1, Batman Volume 1. This definitely goes in amazing. I'd put it over both of these. I think I was rereading it. I don't know why I reread it. But I have read it multiple times. If you've never read the Earth 1 series stuff, like, I've only ever read the Teen Titans Earth 1, Batman Earth 1, and Superman Earth 1, but Batman and Superman Earth 1, personally for me, are phenomenal. I love them. I think they're fantastic. So there's only 3 volumes of Batman, and I think 2 volumes of Superman, or maybe 3 volumes of Superman Earth 1. But regardless, I highly recommend you read them. I think they're phenomenal. So really, really good. Great artwork, fun, not really twist, but like fun retelling of the characters in a more gritty limelight, you could say. But I would recommend it. I think it's pretty amazing. Next up, we have Charles Darwin, The Origin of Species. Now, in terms of a book, reading it, I'd probably put it in amazing. But in terms of its impact and everything it's done for science and humanity as a whole, it goes in the Holy Lord category. But we're doing it as a book, so I'm going to put it in the amazing category. I would put it above all of these, probably. Nah. I'd put it like right there. It's an amazing book. Obviously, it stemmed a lot of stuff in terms of the progression of science and our understanding of our origin as humanity. I think reading it, actually, I think the book itself doesn't actually do a great job in terms of a persuasive argument, because it's not written in that way. It's written more as like a scientist writing all of his evidence for what he states, basically. But if you look at the book, or if you read the book, when people say like where the evidence, let's say, for what he's claiming in here, he showcases it, but like in an insane way. If I were to explain it, instead of it being like one claim and 10 branches of evidence, let's say 10 pieces of evidence, and that's it, it's like the umbrella term of evolution, and then you have 20 pieces of evidence that branch out, and then each individual piece of evidence that he has branched out of those 20, each individual one has another 20 that branches out, supporting the one. So it's like, when you look at it all, there's like hundreds, and it's not just by him, obviously. It's things discovered by different people in different areas of the world at different places, looking at different things. So that's what makes the evidence for it so incredibly fascinating and concrete, is that it's so many different people from so many different places and in so many different things of time coming up to the same conclusion, which makes it insane. But it's like each individual piece of evidence has its own branch of 10 supporting it. So when you read it, you kind of get that understanding. You're like, I see why you say these things. But yeah, that's a great one. I'd definitely recommend it. Origins by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah, put this shit in eye, bro. Let me tell you, this was cheeks. All right, dude, cheeks, absolute cheeks. All right, all of the books so far I feel like I've read by Neil deGrasse Tyson have been so not good. Maybe because it's not the first book I've ever come across about the subject. Now, this is Origins as well, but it's not in the same sense as Darwin's, obviously. This is more on an astronomical sense, looking at the universe and the galaxy and how the origin spawned in that sense. But I think there are books that explain this so much better than what he did, and I found his to be incredibly boring. So if you want to read about this topic, don't read his. There are so many better ones. You go find better versions, like Lawrence Ebb Krauss, or even Stephen Hawking, or, you know, whatever. I don't know. I'll find some others, I guess. I don't know. Next up, we got Hunter x Hunter, Volume 1. I'm going to put this in amazing. Again, Hunter x Hunter as a whole, as a series, would be in the Holy Lord category. If you've ever seen the anime, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? If you've ever seen the anime, you know what I'm talking about. It's insane. Unreal, if we're being honest. The entire story is amazing. Phenomenal writing, phenomenal character work. The art is not amazing, but that takes a backseat to how great the world building is and how fun the story is. Starts off, as we all know, as a fun adventure, and then it turns into the most sad, gritty, dark, and beautifully written thing you've ever read in your life. I would highly recommend this. Next, we have Stone Blind, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm putting this in the Holy Lord category. Now, that might be crazy, but I loved it. It's by Natalie Hayes. I have another book by her down here. This one was not as good, but we'll get to that. It's kind of a retelling, or not retelling. It's the story of Medusa, but from Medusa's perspective. And instead of Medusa being the monster of the story, she's the victim, pretty much. And if you've read actual Greek mythology, you do know that she is the victim, pretty much. You know what I mean? So, like the story of her, Poseidon assaulted her in Athena's temple, and Athena took offense to this, and Athena cursed her. You know what I mean? And it's like, what did Medusa do to deserve this? You know what I mean? Like, Poseidon decided to do it to her, and then Athena cursed her for it. And she's like, I'm just a Gorgon, bro. I'm chilling. I got my Gorgon sisters. We just be doing our thing. I mean, no offense. And Athena just cursed her for the rest of her life. Insanity, if we're being honest. But the story was amazing. Beautifully written. Very witty. Very emotional. I loved it. I'd highly recommend that book. It was fantastic. The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Now, of course, Vagabond is about Miyamoto Musashi, and I was like, well, surely you gotta read The Book of Five Rings. I would say The Book of Five Rings is good, but nothing groundbreaking. So I'm gonna put it at the top of enjoyable. It's like teetering on amazing, but I'm leaving it in the enjoyable category because, you know, it's not everything that I thought it would be. Maybe that's my fault, but like this book has had the craziest reputation of all time. You know what I mean? Like so many people have talked about this book and how amazing it is and how much they love it. And so like I figured this is going to be the most groundbreaking thing I've ever read, and it wasn't at all. It was good, and there's a lot of ideas that I really enjoyed reading about, and I liked reading Miyamoto Musashi's perspective on life. It's very Eastern philosophy. It's very Zen. If you've read any Zen, there's another book in here about that we'll get to. But you know, if you've read anything in terms of Eastern philosophy and how to not be more one with everything, but it's more the idea that nothing is ever beginning, nothing is ever ending, everything is a continuous flow. That's kind of Miyamoto Musashi's perspective on life, and that's what the book is about, honestly. But people talk about like war and stuff, and they're like, you gotta read the 48 Laws of Power and the Book of Five Rings and all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, hey, nah, dude, nah. It was good, wasn't great, it's whatever. Next we have The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Put that in, holy lord. Top tier fantasy. Phenomenal characters, phenomenal world building, phenomenal writing. Everything is delicioso. Actually, I'm putting it in front of Stone Blind, if we're being honest. And I'll put it in front of One Punch Man. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. I'll allow that. That is muy delicioso, if we're being honest. Muy delicioso. Absolutely amazing. Highly recommend, without a question. Hunter x Hunter Volume 2, same thing I said about Hunter x Hunter Volume 1. Put it in amazing. Highly recommend. Here we have the other book on Zen. I was saying Zen and the Art of Archery. I actually read this book specifically because a YouTube video I was watching had recommended it and said it was good, and I was like, okay, sounds like something I'd be interested. Read it. You know what? It's fantastic. It's going in the amazing category. I just don't know where. I think I'd put it like here, in front of The Witcher, behind Darwin's Origin of Species. Fantastic book. I think it's a great book if you want to take your first step into Eastern philosophy and in discovering things about Zen. And again, Zen not in the colloquial sense of where people say, you're like, you know, be Zen, dude, be one with it. Yeah, it's super cringe when you talk like that. But that is the idea, basically. So, fantastic stepping point into that idea. There's a lot of books where it's like Zen in the art of something. So I would highly recommend this. I thought it was great. Fantastic book, if I'm being real with you. So, highly recommend. Batman Failsafe by Chip Zdarsky. Again, like I said, everything Chip Zdarsky does is phenomenal. So that's going in amazing. Fantastic story about like Batman's failsafe for everything pretty much, which is like this robot that he can't outsmart. And it's basically the robot trying to kill Batman, and Batman has to find a way to outthink his failsafe plan, which he fails to do, and then he succeeds at the end with, well, I mean, I guess I won't spoil it in case you want to read it. But it's good. It's fantastic. Loved it. Highly recommend. Shadow of the Gods, which again is the second book of, Hunger of the Gods, which is the second book to Shadow of the Gods, by John Gwynne again. Again, John Gwynne is so top tier in terms of his books. You have to read other stuff by him as well. He's phenomenal. Absolutely fantastic. Couldn't recommend these two more. The third book is coming out soon, and I can't wait. So, highly recommend that. Next up, we have this book, The Ethics of Aristotle. It was from Audible, and I listened to it. It's good. It's kind of like I don't want to say a summary of Nicomachean Ethics, but like, I don't know. I'd put it in the alright category. It's nothing amazing. It's nothing crazy. If you want to read Aristotle's Ethics, I would read Nicomachean Ethics. I would just read his actual work. I wouldn't listen to this from Audible. It was pretty short, and it's like very brief. It's like a Spark Notes of Shakespeare. And it's like, how are you going to compare the Spark Notes of Shakespeare to actually reading Shakespeare, right? It's not the same thing at all. So I wouldn't recommend this. I would just read Nicomachean Ethics. So I'm putting that in the alright. 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes again. This is the same author who wrote Stone Blind. Stone Blind, I loved. This one, cheeks. Absolute cheeks. This one was like a retelling of the Trojan War, but through the female perspective of all the ladies of that time. Of the heroes and stuff, of the fighters, of the people who went to go fight in the Trojan War. These were all the women of Greece and what they went through and what they suffered. There's a big genre of like like mythological story retelling through the female perspective. There's a very big market for this, and some of them are great, like Stone Blind. I loved that one. This one sucked, so unfortunate. Wouldn't recommend this one, but I would recommend that one. Next up we have Kings of the Wild. Oh, dude, this is going in the Holy Lord. That's an amazing book. Amazing. There's a second one I haven't read yet, but the first one, oh, dude, top tier fantasy. Again, top tier fantasy. So good. So fun. Really funny. Really witty. Great fantasy writing. So I'd highly recommend if you like fantasy. Even if you don't and just want a good book, I'd recommend that. The Trial and Death of Socrates. I mean, come on. That's also a Holy Lord. Let's be real here. Right? Let's be honest. That's a Holy Lord. Right? Right. The Trial and Death of Socrates. Come on. You can't get much better than that. I think everyone ever should read this, if I'm being honest with you. I feel like it should be taught in schools. It's a pretty iconic dialogue. I wouldn't say it's necessarily groundbreaking in terms of what it provides, but I think it's a great look at Socrates and what he did at the end when he's arguing against the council for what's happened to him before he's condemned to death. But I do think it's incredibly iconic, and it's a fantastic read. It's an easy, short read, but it's pretty profound, and I like it. So I'd put it in the Holy Lord. It's teetering more so on the Amazing, but I think in terms of what it's about and written, it would be in the Amazing, but its effect is probably Holy Lord. You know what? We're putting in Amazing. I changed my mind. It's going at the front of Amazing. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Next we have the Epictetus, I forget what it's called. What? The Enchiridion. I can't say these things, man. But this one was actually also really good. I'd put that in Amazing. I really enjoyed reading that one too. That one's much short, but this one again is like a bit of Seneca, a bit of Marcus Aurelius. It's like but Epictetus is more in depth, I would say, not as quote unquote beginner. But again, the story is less philosophical, more spiritual. It's a way to live life. It's a man giving his ideas and his perspective on how to live a fulfilling life, much like Marcus Aurelius's book, much like Seneca's book. You know, a lot of people have books like this, especially from the ancient times. A lot of them are good. I would say this one was pretty fantastic. It was a great read, but I would also say it's nothing too in-depth. So if you're more of a beginner phase of philosophy, I would recommend both of these. They're not too in-depth, they're not too difficult, so I'd go with those. Next you have The Sword of Destiny, which is the second book in the Witcher series. This one goes in enjoyable. I'll put it in front of these. It was good, but it was definitely a big step down from The Last Wish, if I'm being honest. The Last Wish is kind of a prequel stuff. It's not really the beginning of the story, and neither is The Sword of Destiny. They're both kind of short story-ish before you get into the real start of the Witcher series, which is down here, The Blood of Elves. But yeah, it was definitely a step down from The Last Wish. Still good, but nothing great. Beyond the North Wind, same thing. I'd put this in enjoyable. It's a history of Norse Vikings. It's decent. It's not great. There are better books on the history of the Nordic Vikings than this book. So it's good, not great. Would I recommend if you're interested in it? Sure, but there's also better versions of this book. So do with that what you will. Next we have both of technically the start of the Witcher series. The book 3 and book 4, because book 1 and book 2 are not the start technically. They're like prequels and short stories. So this is technically the start. I'd put both of these in Amazing. They're both fantastic. Great fantasy, great world building, great characters. I would say in terms of the writing, it's not the greatest written book ever, but it is fantastic. Definitely enjoyed it, definitely recommend. Next up, we got The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I don't know what spurred me to read this. It had been on my thing of things wanting to read for a while. I've read it before, obviously, like in high school when everyone had to read it. But I wanted to reread it again, and, you know, it holds up. It's a fantastic book. That goes in Amazing for sure. It's a fantastic book. It really is. It's an easy read, but it's an enjoyable read. I like the characters. I like the way it's written. I like the story. I'd recommend. Next, this is one book technically, but it's 3 separate issues. It's the Punisher War Journal. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the brother's name who wrote this because it's a crazy name. So, but what I remember is the first one was second one was enjoyable, third one was like amazing-ish, but better. So I'll put it like here, I guess, in the enjoyable category. Like, it progressively got better throughout it, but it wasn't amazing. In terms of Punisher stuff, much better stuff out there. But it was fun. It wasn't horrible. One Punch Man, Volume 27. This one has to go, of course, into the Holy Lord with the other ones because One Punch Man is amazing. Don't ever get that twisted. Berserk Deluxe Edition, Volume 13. Holy Lord at the top. Shouldn't have to explain it. We all know why. Ancient Rome by Thomas Martin. This thing was cheeks. Again, this idea or explanation or history retelling of ancient Rome, there are better books that do this. That's why it's in this category. That's why it's in the bro what category. This is like bro, comma, what, as in what did I just read? It's a useless waste of time, okay? There are so many better books out there that explain these ideas and retell these. Read SPQR if you want the best retelling of ancient Rome and all of the history in one big book. Read that. Don't read this, okay? Next up, we got a huge list of Sherlock Holmes because I read the entirety of Sherlock Holmes, the complete collection. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put all of these in the amazing category, and I'll read these. I think this is the memoirs, this is Hounds of Baskerville, this is the Return, this is the Valley of Fear, this is His Last Bow, this is the Case Book, and this is the complete collection. Complete collection goes in the Holy Lord. Each individual story I'll put in the amazing category. Now you might say, how does that work if they're all in the amazing and enjoyable? How is it Holy Lord? I get it. Because I think in terms of, as a character, how amazing the writing, its effect, it's what it's done for pop culture, the effect of the character, how much it's influenced everything, it deserves to be up here. And he's also, you know, like top 5 favorite character of all time for me. So he's got to go up here for me, of the entirety of the stories. And I wouldn't include like all the other books about him. Like down here, I have some ones written by James Lovegrove and not written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. But again, the same thing, right? It spawned more books in the Sherlock Holmes repertoire, and everything about Sherlock Holmes I love. So complete collection goes in the Holy Lord. The books themselves, I put them in the amazing. They're good. They're good. Next up, we got Ethics by Spinoza. This one definitely goes in the amazing category. I would put this probably middle of the pack, around over here. I would definitely say Spinoza is not your beginner philosophy. You will struggle reading this if you are not someone who is, let's say, adept in philosophy. If you haven't read a lot of more complex philosophy, this is going to confuse the hell out of you. It'll take you a lot longer to get through this than you would these two. These two you can just read generally and enjoy them and not have to do as much thinking. You can think about the ideas, but you don't need to think about how they're written. You don't need to dissect how it's written or what it truly means. This you are going to need to dissect every sentence. It will be confusing to you if you're not someone who's read a lot of philosophy. So that's your warning for that one. But it is a fantastic book. I loved it. Fate of the Fallen by Kel Cade. This one took me by storm. I took a chance on this book because I was like, oh, the cover looks cool. I was at the bookstore and I saw it and I was like, okay, the cover looks cool. Sounds like something I would enjoy. Let's go for it. Lo and behold, it was amazing. Book 2 right here, I'm putting it right up there with it. Fate of the Fallen and Destiny of the Dead. Knocked it out of the park. Everything you want from a fantasy series and your lone hero, a reluctant hero fantasy series, you got it. It was amazing. Like, I'm not really gonna spoil it, but like, it happens in the first chapter, so it's not really a spoil. But at the beginning of this book, right, you have this guy who looks like he's gonna be your main character. He's the dude who can do everything, get the girls, charismatic, good looking. You think he's gonna be the main guy. He's the one that's set up for the destiny. Like, they know what the, let's say, prophecy is. They know who it's about. It's supposed to be about him, and he dies. And you're left with the best friend having to be the one to go through the world, go through the prophecy, go through destiny. It's the best friend doing it, not the guy it was supposed to be about. That's like the main tagline of this story. I've had people compare it to saying, like, if Frodo dies and Sam is the one that had to take the ring. It's like technically true, but I think going into it with that perspective will leave you unsatisfied. And I saw that in the reviews, people saying, I was told that this was like if Sam was the one doing it instead of Frodo, and I didn't think that at all. And it's like, okay, dude, listen, I think you went into it with the wrong expectations. But if you just go into it reading for a good fantasy series, amazing. Both these. Fantastic characters, very fun and witty dialogue, very whimsical, a lot of great stuff in this. Highly recommend both of those. Fantastic. Batman the Knight, also going up here. I didn't expect to love it, but I loved it. I mean, listen, you give me a Batman origin retelling of him being a badass, what more do you want? What more do you want? You know what I'm saying? You don't need much more than that. You don't need much more than that. That's all I'm giving you. It's what it is. It's a retelling of Batman's origin, and it was fantastic, so it goes up there. We have a Dance of Dragons from George R.R. Martin. Again, good, Not the best, but good. The series itself has left an insane impact, but not the greatest, not the worst. And also, I just realized that I don't have the photos of the other books in here, but they're supposed to be there. I don't know where they went. But just add in A Feast of Crows, A Feast for Crows as well, and A Storm of Swords, which is book 3, 4, and 5 of The Song of Ice and Fire. They would all go in this category. They'd go in amazing. I think in terms of the books themselves, they are very wordy, they are very long, but it's because his world building is otherworldly, to put it lightly. He is a phenomenal writer. He is amazing. But I'd probably say most people should just watch the show over than read the books, unless you really love the show like me. I loved the show, which is why I read the books. But if you're someone who just enjoyed the show, I wouldn't necessarily say for you to read the book, because you won't get that much extra out of it. The show is pretty fantastic, besides the later seasons, obviously. But the beginning of the show and everything is pretty fantastic, so I don't really think you need much else. But I would recommend it. It's a pretty great book. Here we get my introduction to the man who would become my favorite author ever, easily. He blew me out of the water immediately. I don't know how he did it, but he managed to do it. Starting with Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Holy Lord, that's #1 place. I left a review on Goodreads for this too. I never leave reviews for stuff, but this thing blew me away. I had to leave a review, you know? I was just like, this is the greatest book I've ever read. One of them for sure. Amazing. Unreal. I'd recommend that to anybody. I related to it. Probably shouldn't have, and it's probably questionable that I did, but I did. But I'd recommend every book by Dostoevsky to every person ever. Amazing. The greatest to ever do it right there, bro. Next up, we have Punisher, the King of Killers. This is volume 2 in Jason Aaron's Punisher run. It's pretty good. It's nothing crazy, but it's good. It's like teetering on between this section. Like the bottom of amazing, the top of enjoyable. It's teetering right there is where I'd put it. Like 3.5 stars, you know? Detective Comics is I think it's like the Nocturne Overture or something like that. This one is also enjoyable. It wasn't amazing, it wasn't horrible. It's like a gothic horror art of Batman story. It has much more of like a spiritual feel to it. It's less gritty in nature. It's much more supernatural, which is fun for a Batman comic, but it's not the greatest I've ever read, but the art was pretty great. I'd recommend if you like it, but nothing too crazy. Next up, this is The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Put it up there with Notes from Underground. Don't even need to say anything. It's Dostoevsky. Automatically makes it amazing. Next up, we have the entire Percy Jackson series, which I reread in preparation for the Percy Jackson show that came out. So, books 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In terms of how amazing these books are, it goes in the Holy Lord, but I will put them in the amazing category. In terms of each book individually, I'll put them in the amazing, not the Holy Lord. Except The Last Olympian. The Last Olympian deserves to be in the Holy Lord category, because that one's fantastic. When I first read that book, I read it in one sitting. Literally, I opened the book up at like 9 p.m., got into bed, finished it at 3 a.m., and I was like, I can't believe what I just went through. You know what I mean? Like, it was just immediate. It was amazing. Next up, we got The Lost Hero. This is the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series. Yo, this one's going down here. I think this is kind of a general consensus for most people. Not everybody loves The Lost Hero, if we're being honest. Everyone kind of accepts it as like the runt of the litter, if we're being for real, you know? I mean, Piper and Leo are great in this. Jason's cool too, but it's just, for most people, Jason's just not that leading man. He's just not. He's kind of cardboardy, and that's what this book felt like. So it goes in the enjoyable. It's not horrible by any means, but it's definitely not as good as the rest of the series. Next up, we have Hunter x Hunter, volume 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Something like that. I will put these, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will put these with the rest of the series. Again, shouldn't be surprising as to why. It's a fantastic manga, lots of fun, great written. Highly recommend to everyone. Again, just listen to what I said for the first volume. The Son of Neptune. This is the second book in the Heroes of Olympus, but this guy goes up here. Son of Neptune, dude, is insane. Especially as someone, when you read the Percy Jackson series and you fall in love with Percy and you're like, Percy's the best, he's the GOAT, dude is always kicking ass, and you're like, he's amazing. But you never feel he gets the respect he deserves. In your heart, you're like, this guy is the strongest demigod. I am tired of people sleeping on him. He needs the respect he deserves. Son of Neptune comes in, Percy gets the respect he deserves. All of a sudden, because the Roman people are looking at Percy from an outside perspective, and they're all like, yo, this guy's kind of crazy. this guy kind of crazy. He might be about that action. And Percy was on demon time the whole book. And the ending hits, and he's like single-handedly fighting people. He's causing tornadoes. He's, you know, doing all kinds of stuff. And you're like, all right, dude, you might be him. You know what I mean? So that one's amazing. I love that book. That's my favorite book out of all of Rick Riordan's books. Out of all the Percy Jackson books, Heroes of Olympus, Trials of Apollo, Kane Chronicles, Magnus Chase. That's the one. Next up, we have Chalice of the Gods by Percy Jackson. This is the 6th book in the Percy Jackson series. I will put this down here with The Amazing, right behind the series. This was a great 6th book, great 6th edition. Came out, 10 years after the original series ended, and it was fun. It wasn't bad by any means. It was great. It was just like the other books. Put me right back into the world. I loved it. It was fun. I'd recommend. Mark of Athena. This is the 3rd book in the Heroes of Olympus. Again, this one goes in the amazing category. Absolutely. Amazing. Fantastic. Great story. Athena being the hallmark for this one. And the ending of it's pretty crazy. That's where we get onto the House of Hades, which I would also put right behind it. This is, Percy and Annabeth going through Tartarus together, I think, the entire time. Insane, but fantastic. Loved it. Highly recommend. Hunter x Hunter Volume 7. Again, putting it right here with the rest of the Hunter Hunters. Fantastic. Would highly recommend. Teen Titans Earth 1. Remember when I said Batman and Superman Earth 1s were phenomenal and I'd highly recommend? Yeah, Teen Titan goes in the bro what category. That stuff is cheeks. That stuff is straight cheeks. Story sucked, characters sucked, everything sucked about this. Straight cheeks, worst things I've read all year. Blood of Olympus, this is the final book in the Heroes of Olympus series. I'd recommend, same as the other ones. All fantastic, all good. Great. Trials of Apollo, the first one, I would put this in enjoyable. If I'm being real with you, it wasn't as great as Heroes of Olympus or Percy Jackson. I think it was good, I think it was fun, but nothing too crazy for me. Apollo was cool and all, but maybe I just don't like his character as much, or maybe I don't like the story as much, I don't know. But it's still good. I didn't dislike it, but it's just not as good as the rest of them. How We Live is How We Die. This is an amazing book. This is either Holy Lord down here or amazing, and I think it depends on who you are, is how you'll feel about the placement of this, whether it's at the bottom of Holy Lord or at the top of Amazing. I'm going to put it at top of Amazing. This is a book that again has that very Buddhist East Asian philosophy idea, very Zen, but it's a woman retelling her journey through Buddhism. But it is genuinely amazing. I think it could help a lot of people not necessarily, I wouldn't say anxious about life, but maybe looking for a new perspective or how to appreciate life itself. A phenomenal book. Genuinely beautiful. Beautiful read. I'd recommend that to anybody. Plato on Love. This one's pretty good. I'd put it at the bottom of Amazing. It's enjoyable. It's a very short read. It was only on Audible, actually. I listened to it. It was like 2.5 hours. It's pretty nice. I enjoy it because I like Plato's work, but it's definitely some of his lower tier stuff, if I'm being honest, but it was still enjoyable. I'd recommend. I have 3 books here from the Very Short Introduction series. The Very Short Introduction series is actually great. I love it. I'd recommend that to anybody, and they have so many different topics on this. These ones unfortunately just weren't that great. War and Religion I found to be boring. The Roman Republic, much like Ancient Rome by Thomas Martin, it was boring and it was told better in other stories, so I probably wouldn't recommend these two. The Abrahamic Religion one I thought was enjoyable. Again, not the greatest I read on the subject, but it was good. It was enjoyable. I'd give it to people. I'd say, yeah, sure, read it. Why not? Next up, we have, again, Dostoevsky with The Gambler. I loved this one. Everything by Dostoevsky is perfect, man. This one was much more lighthearted and fun, though. Having come from reading Notes from Underground and The Idiot, I didn't know what to expect with The Gambler, but The Gambler was much more lighthearted, much more fun. But I think Dostoevsky just has the greatest understanding of the human psyche I've ever seen. He just writes it so beautifully, his prose is amazing, and his understanding of how humans work is second to none. I'd recommend Dostoevsky to every person ever until I die. Amazing. Next up, we have 2 Audible originals called Moriarty. So these were actually amazing. I'm putting these in the amazing category and near the top. I loved these. If you like Sherlock Holmes, I would recommend reading these, but they have the highest quality production, by the way. A full ensemble cast, people you recognize as well, like the brother who plays Moriarty is the dude from Lord of the Rings. They're fantastic voices. Pippin from Lord of the Rings plays Sebastian Moran. So like a lot of great voices here for the characters. Beautiful cast, beautiful production. There's like footsteps, music, atmospheric, phenomenal. But it basically flips it on his head where Moriarty is the good guy and Sherlock Holmes is kind of the bad guy. but you see how Moriarty is forced into this life of crime pretty much and how he gets there. But Moriarty is definitely the more morally upstanding person in this series, and Sherlock is very much an anti-hero. He kills people, he doesn't care, he's brutal, he's rude, he's mean, he is not a gentleman whatsoever. So it's kind of a switch around of the villain and the hero, which is fun, but I really enjoyed these. I thought they were great. I'd recommend that. Next up, we have Hamlet by Shakespeare. I mean, come on, this goes in the Holy Lord. I don't know where I'd put it in here. I'd put it right here, I guess. That shouldn't need any explanation. It's Shakespeare, and it's Hamlet. It's one of his best ones. I loved it. This is my third time rereading it, I think. I will say for anybody, though, if you're somebody who's never been able to get into Shakespeare because of the way he writes, which is understood, right? I get that. My recommendation is do not read Shakespeare. Watch Shakespeare. There are so many fantastic theater productions of Shakespeare. The one with Benedict Cumberbatch and the one with Andrew Scott are beautiful, and I would recommend you watch both of those because you will suddenly feel the feelings of euphoria you're supposed to get when you read Shakespeare. All the lines that you don't understand while you're reading it, to watch a talented actor say the lines will just blow your mind, and suddenly you will understand why it's so beautiful. Like suddenly everything just clicks into place. You know what I mean? So I would say if you're someone who could never get into Shakespeare and you say it's not that great, please watch a theater production of his work and you will understand why it's beautiful. Because the things you can't grasp while reading it, right? You can't read it in the way that Shakespeare intends, right? Your vocal inflections won't be in the same place. The way you say a sentence won't be in the same place. Your frame of mind won't be in the right place. So like watching a theater production, watching talented actors speak these lines of dialogue will really show you everything you need to know. So I would recommend that. Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. Once again, it doesn't need to be explained. At the top of Holy Lord, it's Dostoevsky. Amazing. Crime and Punishment was the one I knew. I didn't know Notes from Underground. I didn't know The Idiot. Didn't know The Gambler. I didn't know the rest of Dostoevsky's work. I only knew Crime and Punishment. And I left that as the last one I read between these. I would actually say Crime and Punishment is my least favorite out of the four here. I enjoyed all of these more. Actually, I might say Crime and Punishment over The Idiot. But again, phenomenal, amazing. Go read it, man. It's Dostoevsky. Go read it. Cthulhu Casebooks. This one I'd put either at the top of alright or the bottom of enjoyable. I'm going to put it at the top of alright. Wasn't fantastic. James Lovegrove has written many better Sherlock Holmes stories, like the one I'm about to say. This is like near his beginning works. This is like the first ones he produced. They were all right, but I wasn't a huge fan of this. This one, however, was absolutely amazing. I'll put this up here in front of The Witcher. The Three Winter Terrors by Sherlock Holmes, James Lovegrove. This one was really good. It was the last book I read before the end of the year. Finished it, like I think like December 30th or something. Absolutely amazing. It was like 3 separate mysteries in one book, and then at the end they kind of intertwine and interweave. But the character work in this was great, the writing was great, the mysteries were great, story was great, everything was great. Loved it. But that is it. That is everything I read in 2024. It's pretty good. Pretty good year. Not bad. Looking forward. I mean, everything I read in 2023, not everything I read in 2024, you absolute moron. But nonetheless, I thought it was pretty good. Pretty good year. Read a lot of great stuff. Let me know what you read. Let me know what you think of the stuff I read. And that's about it. I'll see you in. Hey guys, thank you all for watching that recent video, and I just want to give a special shout out to Oko Canutilla. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm really sorry if I'm not, but just want to give a special shout out to you. You've been subscribed to my tier 1 on Patreon for a while now, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for the support. Love you guys.